Most people don't realize they're in love when it first happens. They think it's just excitement, attraction, or a passing phase. But psychology shows that when love begins, it quietly rewires how you think, feel, and behave long before you're ready to admit it. By the end of this, you'll be able to recognize the subtle signs that reveal whether you're madly in love or simply emotionally curious. These signs don't just live in grand gestures, they show up in everyday moments you might be overlooking. Love starts in the brain before it settles in the heart. When you're falling deeply for someone, your brain releases chemicals that heighten focus, emotional sensitivity, and attachment. This is why love feels both thrilling and unsettling at the same time. Your attention narrows, and one person begins to stand out from the noise of everyday life. One of the earliest signs appears in something you check dozens of times a day: your phone. When you're in love, your phone stops being just a device and becomes a source of emotional anticipation. A message from them can lift your mood instantly. Silence can make you restless. This happens because your brain starts associating their communication with reward. Each notification carries emotional weight. You might catch yourself checking your phone without realizing why. Even mundane updates from them feel meaningful. If their name lighting up your screen changes your entire mood, that's not coincidence, that's emotional attachment forming. Ask yourself this: do you feel a small rush of excitement when you see their name, even on ordinary days? Another sign shows up in your body before your mind catches on: blushing, smiling without reason, feeling warm or light when you think about them. These reactions aren't random, they're physical responses driven by emotional arousal. When you're in love, your brain links thoughts of that person to positive emotional memory. Simply imagining moments with them activates the same pleasure centers as being with them. This is why you might smile alone, replay conversations, or feel shy even when they're not present. Blushing happens because your nervous system is slightly overstimulated in their presence. It's a sign of vulnerability. Your body is responding honestly, even if your mind is still pretending nothing is happening. Have you noticed how hard it is to hide joy when their name enters your thoughts? Love also changes how you see yourself. You start caring more about how you look, not out of insecurity, but out of desire to be seen favorably by one specific person. You take extra time getting ready. You choose outfits more carefully. You notice details you usually ignore. Psychologically, this happens because love activates self-awareness. You imagine how you appear through their eyes. Your brain is motivated to present the best version of you, even if you don't consciously admit it. What's interesting is that this effort doesn't feel like a chore. It feels natural. You might tell yourself you're just being careful, but deep down, you know exactly why you're doing it. Another powerful sign is the way your attention shifts toward their inner world. You begin remembering small details about them: their favorite food, the way they take their coffee, what makes them laugh, what annoys them. Love sharpens emotional memory. Your brain flags information related to them as important. Even things you'd normally forget stick with you. This isn't manipulation or strategy, it's emotional investment. You may find yourself genuinely interested in things you once ignored simply because they care about them. Their interests start to matter because they matter. Pause for a moment and think. Do you remember things about them that surprise even you? When you're in love, uncertainty becomes magnetic. You start looking for signs: a smile that lasts a second longer, a message sent late at night, a tone shift in their voice. Your mind searches for reassurance that your feelings might be mutual. This happens because love increases emotional risk. Your brain wants safety, but your heart wants connection. So you scan for clues, not because you're insecure, because attachment heightens sensitivity. Even people who claim they don't believe in signs often catch themselves interpreting small gestures when love is involved. It's the mind trying to reduce emotional ambiguity. Another subtle but telling sign is revisiting the past. You reread old messages, you replay conversations, you remember moments that felt insignificant at the time, but now feel meaningful. Psychologically, this is emotional regulation. When you miss someone, your brain seeks comfort by reactivating memories associated with them. Their words become a stand-in for their presence. You might smile at a message you've read a dozen times, not because it's new, but because it brings them closer. What would normally feel silly suddenly feels soothing. Have you ever caught yourself rereading something simple just to feel connected again? One of the clearest signs of being madly in love is how their name affects you. Hearing it in conversation, seeing it on a screen, even thinking it silently, it triggers an emotional response almost instantly. This happens because your brain has linked their identity to pleasure and meaning. Their name becomes a shortcut to emotion. It can lift your mood even on difficult days. What's remarkable is how automatic this response is. You don't choose it. It happens before you have time to think. That's when you know the feeling runs deep. Here's something many people don't expect. Love often reveals itself in restraint as much as expression. You may downplay your feelings, joke them away, tell yourself it's nothing serious. This resistance is often a sign of depth, not doubt. When something matters deeply, the mind tries to protect itself from vulnerability. Denial becomes a defense. The stronger the feeling, the more tempting it is to minimize it. But emotions have a way of surfacing, even when unspoken, through habits, through attention, through small changes in behavior. So take a quiet moment and reflect. Which of these felt most familiar, and which ones surprised you? Being madly in love isn't about constant excitement or dramatic gestures. It's about consistent emotional presence. It's about how one person begins to occupy space in your thoughts, your routines, and your inner world. Love doesn't demand certainty. It reveals itself gradually through patterns you can't ignore forever. If you recognized yourself in these signs, allow yourself to acknowledge it without judgment. Understanding your emotions doesn't mean you have to act on them. It simply gives you clarity. If this helped you make sense of your feelings, share your thoughts, support the channel by liking and subscribing, and continue exploring the psychology behind human connection. The more you understand your emotions, the more intentionally you can live with them.